Hey.
How are you?
Awesome. How are you?
Doing great.
Great property, man. This is awesome out here.
And we are in the middle of nowhere.
How far are we from where you actually saw this thing?
Right here, about 100 yards.
That one?
That's it, right there. Up in where you can see the natural saddle is where it was sitting.
So you didn't actually see it up there, though, right?
Never saw it until it hit the ground.
So now that we're actually here at the location, tell me everything that happened. Like what happened before, during, and after the encounter.
I wanted to walk down this little slough and see if there were any fruit-bearing trees. I got out of the truck, grabbed my gun, grabbed my camera. Down the trail I came. And I heard a loud crash behind me. And I turned around, and on the ground was this creature. 5 feet behind me. I reached back to grab my gun. I'm looking at this thing, and it's human looking. So I let go of the rifle, grab the camera, take the lens cap off, and it takes off running.
So, and it was daytime, right?
Daytime.
You got a heck of a good look at
Middle
this.
of the day.
Well, such close encounters are practically unheard of. So, using this opportunity, what did you notice about its face?
There was no visible hair in the face or on the face anywhere other than around the mouth. There was very, very fine, what I would call baby hair.
Okay.
The skin was dark, but it was real shiny looking, almost like oily looking. Its mouth was open just a little bit.
Okay.
That was the only noise that I heard, was it actually...
How did this whole thing end? I mean, it ran off.
Well, of course I went after it. And I snapped pictures.
Do you have those with you?
Yes, I do.
Awesome.
There it is right there.
Yeah, it is a blob squatch indeed, but there's something there.
And this is the photo of the footprint.
I love situations like this. I had serious reservations about Jeff's story when I first heard it, but now that I've been to the location, heard the details, and then saw the pictures, I think he probably saw a Sasquatch in the middle of the day. I'm blown away.
So that mailbox?
Yes, ma'am. This is where it was. Basically what happened, I pulled up with my vehicle, and I put the paper in a tube. And something caught the side of my eye over here, shape. I pulled in a little bit more so I could face it. This figure was walking along that tree line right there. Turned around and it looked at me, and I saw these big red eyes. It was big. Looked at each other for seconds, and then I got really scared and I drove off.
So you first catch a glimpse of it and you're not quite sure what you're seeing, and then you turn your car in. And especially that second time, you've got the lights on it. Can you describe just everything that you saw?
Well, when it turned and looked at me, it was really big. The shoulders especially, I mean, they were at least like about this wide. And the head was kind of, like I said, was kind of pushed in, and the head was kind of conish on the top. I couldn't really see the face too much because there was kind of like hair in it, but the eyes, I mean, they just came up through the amount of hair I saw. They were real bright, and they were about, I mean, from that distance, they kind of looked about like this. I mean, they were big.
And you're in shock.
Yeah, this thing spooked me.
I'm hoping after I talk to Jamie, I can figure out why the Squatches are using this river.
Thanks for meeting me on such a lousy day.
So, Jamie, you gotta tell me what happened that night, where you got dropped off, which way you were walking, where the thing was, all that.
Okay. Well, I was walking home and I got dropped off at that dirt road. It was about 11:30 that night, full moon. My boyfriend dropped me off. I was walking all the way down to my house and I heard a big, loud, heavy animal. It looked like a big gorilla. And that's when I just turned around, grabbed my necklace, and just prayed, please, God. I just knew that it was something to get away from. I moved all the way over to that side of the road, and then I walked maybe 10 feet down, turned to look behind me. It was just following me with its head just all the way down the road. And I just turned around and never looked back.
God, that had to be the scariest thing ever.
Oh, yeah.
Jamie snuck out of her house that night looking for a little excitement, but she got way more than she was expecting. If a little bad behavior is all it took to see a Sasquatch, I'd be seeing them all the time. And Moneymaker would be surrounded by them.
You could clearly make out the whole silhouette of it. You could tell that it was shoulders coming forward.
Right.
So do you mind running us through everything that happened?
Sure. It was this past Wednesday, the 28th of January, right before dusk. I was walking down the road, just getting a little exercise, and I got a creepy feeling. So I stopped and I looked to the left, and I immediately made eye contact with a big, hairy hominid. I knew the only thing it could be was a Bigfoot. Finally, I said, "Hey!" And it ambled off into the palmettos and disappeared. It was standing right next to that oak tree. Its mouth was slightly open.
How did it move?
Very smooth. No head bob. It just glided right through.
At nighttime, he was up on the platform waiting for the hunt. He heard this loud animal walking through the forest, breaking branches. It was not a giant sloth. It was not an anteater. He knew it was a mapinguari.
Was he absolutely certain it was walking on two legs?
Percebi que ele andava igual de uma pessoa todo tempo, assim. Só que ele ia quebrando pau todo tempo, né?
The animal he saw, it was like a human.
Ele passou ela meia-noite, né? Quando ele partiu das 3 horas, ele voltou de volta no mesmo caminho de novo.
He said that 3 hours later, he came back, doing the same thing, walking, breaking branches and screaming very loud.
How often would it scream?
Passou assim, mais uns 20 minutos que ele estava.
Every 20 minutes?
Ele teve que fazer a mesma coisa.
The thing that jumped out to me the most was that he said, "Woo!" every 20 minutes. Same thing the rubber tapper told me.
Glad we found you.
We're a little out of the way.
Well, now that we're at this location, can you and Carrie run us through what you guys observed that day?
Sure. We were driving along coming from this direction right over here. It was just before twilight. When I came around the curve, I saw an animal running on 2 legs. As he got up to the edge of the pavement, he looked at me and then dropped down on all 4s, and he crossed right in front of me. Came up on the other side, squatted down and looked back over its shoulder at me. He stood up, stepped into this area and headed that direction.
Was this not mowed at that time?
Not at the time. This area is known as the Big Thicket. So basically it was a mixture of pines, of yopons, a smattering of oak.
So you said you're about 7 yards away from it. You both saw it. Can you describe what you saw?
It appeared to be about 5 feet tall, had reddish-brown hair. The hair hung off of its arms probably about 6 inches. It was very stocky build, very muscular.
The face was flat, but it had human features.
Thanks for meeting us, Ben. And this is supposed to be the famous trailer, huh?
Yes, sir. I see it.
Well, tell us about what happened that night.
One night, I heard a snore was outside. And when I got up close to it, it was shaking the trailer. She turned around, that's when I realized it was a female. Kind of had breasts on it. She just kind of throwed her head up and she turned. And when she looked at me, she went, whoo. And when she did, I just stepped out to let her know that I wasn't scared of her. I ain't coming to you, but you don't come to me either. Yeah. And then she walked all the way across the field. She turned back around, and when she did, she hollered.
Can you imitate it, or would you imitate it?
Yeah, she went. You could tell it was a female on count. The shoulders and the hips about the same. It had a lot of muscles in the neck and stuff.
When you heard her do that scream that you did for us, have you heard that noise here before?
A bunch. I think it's more than just one.
This is the famous hole, huh?
This is it.
So he just pulled up here that night? What was he doing?
He was watering greens. He came out in a golf cart and pulled up to this green and went over to hook up the hose over here. And he saw this Bigfoot creature. And then the Sasquatch went into the woods. He just felt the presence there.
So what exactly did he tell you he saw?
He just said it was a very tall, hairy creature with the red glaring eyes were something that was very prominent in his description. Dad was pretty modest about things. He kept to himself a lot, I think because there were so many disbelievers around.
The common thing we got from old-time residents of Whitehall area was that when they heard that Cliff Sparks said he saw it, that added a lot of validity because he was so well respected. Cliff didn't come forward right away about his sighting, but he did once those other reports became public. And it's important for respected citizens like that to step up and say what they saw and not be afraid.